Steam fogs the kitchen window while the coffee maker gurgles behind you, and your phone lights up on the counter. 6:52 a.m. The direct deposit landing before you've even poured your first cup. The number sits there, $2,140.18. You glance at it once, feel that small lift in your chest, and go back to pouring. You don't open the app again. You don't need to. Somewhere behind that glance, a decision's already being made about where it's going. One you didn't actually sit down and make. By the time you're dressed, it's already started spending itself. The 15-second payday trap. By the time you're pulling into the lot at 8:52, the $2,140.18 already has a life of its own. Rent's already spoken for it. So has the Discover card. So has the thing you've been telling yourself you'll pay off this month for the last 4 months. You haven't opened your banking app since 6:47. You don't need to. You already know the number is smaller than it was an hour ago, even though nothing has actually left your account yet. That's the strange part nobody tells you about payday. The money starts disappearing before it's gone. You cut the engine and sit there for a second, coffee sweating a ring onto the cup holder. And that's when Casey Boudreau swings into the space 2 down from you in a Rivian R1S Adventure, the deep blue one, tires still clean from the dealership. Casey works 2 desks over from you. Same title, same pay grade, probably, give or take a few thousand. You don't ask, and Casey doesn't say, but the math runs anyway. Quiet and automatic, the way it always does when someone else's life looks a little more finished than yours. You wonder how? You don't wonder long. You've got a meeting at 9. Inside, the day moves the way it always does. Someone brings donuts to the break room and you grab one without thinking. $0 out of pocket, except it's not really $0. It never really is. It's just money you didn't have to hand over yourself. At lunch, you order the usual from the taco place on the corner. Tap your card. Don't look at the total. It's fine. It's always fine, one transaction at a time. It's only at the end of the day, waiting at the light on your drive home, that you finally open the app. $1,406.52. You stare at it a second longer than you mean to. Not because the number is wrong, because you can't actually account for where $733 of it went. Rent hasn't even pulled yet. It's not one bad decision. It's not the donut or the tacos or the coffee sweating in your cup holder. It's that the second the deposit hit, your brain had already spent it, filed it away as available before you'd made a single choice about it. Financial people have a name for that. You don't need the name. You just need to notice that it's true, that somewhere between the buzz on your leg at 6:47 and the light turning green right now, the money stopped feeling like yours and started feeling like something that was already leaving. You're not alone in this, even if it feels like it in the car by yourself. Most of the people you know are running the same math in their heads at red lights, in break rooms, in parking lots next to somebody else's Rivian. Nobody talks about it. Everybody's doing it anyway. The light turns green. You drive home with $1,406.52 in an account that started the day at $2,140.18, and no real memory of deciding to spend the difference. Which means the real question was never how much you make. It's what you're actually spending it on before you've even decided to. Finding your financial baseline, the 50% line. Saturday morning, and you're still in the same spot on the couch you've been in for 20 minutes. Laptop open, bank statement pulled up in a browser tab you keep almost closing. You told yourself you'd do this weeks ago. Just look. Just actually look line by line instead of watching the total shrink and guessing at why. Your phone buzzes. Your sister, Renee Castellano, sends a photo from a hike, captions something like "best decision I ever made. Moving out here." You like the photo and go back to the spreadsheet you've started. 2 columns, nothing fancy. One side you're calling needs, the other you're calling everything else. It sounded simple when you typed the headers. It stopped being simple about 4 transactions in. Rent is easy, $1,510 a month, same as it's been, and it goes in needs without a second thought. Groceries, also easy, $690 give or take, also needs. Then you hit the first subscription, the streaming service you added during a slow week 2 winters ago, and you sit with your cursor over it for a second before you move it. Quietly, into everything else. Then, the next one. Then, the one after that. By the time you're done, you're staring at 6 of them. $63.96 total for shows you can name maybe 2 of. It's not just the subscriptions. It's the $14 lunch you grabbed twice this week because the fridge was empty and you didn't feel like thinking about it. It's the ride you took home from Renee's going away dinner instead of the 15-minute walk because it was raining and you didn't want to deal with it. None of it, on its own, looks like anything. That's what makes it hard to see. A 5 here, a 12 there. Never big enough by itself to notice until you add a whole month of them side by side and the number staring back at you is real. You do the math you didn't want to do. Rent, groceries, utilities, the actual bare cost of staying alive and housed. It comes out to a little under half of what lands in your account each pay period. You exhale, and it surprises you how much that one number changes the shape of everything else. Because now you know, the other half isn't disappearing into thin air. It's going somewhere you can actually name. 6 subscriptions, a rainy day ride you didn't need to take, lunches you bought out of tiredness, not hunger. You don't delete anything yet. You just sit there, looking at the 2 columns, feeling something between embarrassment and relief. Embarrassment that it took a spreadsheet to see something this obvious. Relief that it wasn't actually a mystery after all. It was never really about how much you make. Casey's Rivian isn't the problem. The problem was that you'd never once drawn the line between what keeps the lights on and what doesn't. You close the laptop, but the number stays with you the rest of the day. The quiet, unglamorous truth that everything you need costs less than half of what you earn, which means the other half was always supposed to be doing something. You just hadn't decided what yet. Building your safety net, the shield. 3 weeks later, your car makes a sound it's never made before. A low grinding noise every time you brake, and your stomach drops before you've even pulled into the shop. You already know how this goes. You've seen the movie. Something breaks, the number is bigger than you expected, and you spend the next 2 months paying it off, a little at a time on a card that's charging you close to 22% for the privilege. The guy at the shop, a soft-spoken mechanic named Dale Whitfield who's worked on your car for years, comes out wiping his hands on a rag and says the word rotors like it's nothing. Then he says the number, $410. You brace for the familiar feeling, that specific kind of dread, the one where you start doing math about which bill moves, which card absorbs it, what you tell yourself to make it feel okay. Except this time, the dread doesn't come. You open your banking app right there in the waiting room, and there it is, sitting quietly in a high-yield savings account you opened 3 weeks ago and almost forgot about. $1,200. You transfer $410 out, pay Dale, and drive home on brakes that don't grind anymore. That's it. That's the whole moment. No crisis, no panic. Just a number moving from one account to another like it was always supposed to. It didn't feel like much when you started it. The account had been sitting there with $0 in it for years, this vague someday fund you kept meaning to open, until the Saturday after you did the spreadsheet with Renee's hiking photo still in your messages. You'd moved $200 into it that day, almost embarrassed by how small it was. You knew, roughly, what it was supposed to become, enough to cover 3 to 6 months of the number you'd already found, the bare cost of rent and groceries and the lights staying on. You weren't there yet. You weren't close. But $200 felt like a decision instead of a hope, which was different from anything you'd done with money before. It's not lost on you that more than half of people in this country couldn't have covered that $410 without putting it on a card or borrowing it from someone. You'd been one of them for years, not because you were careless, because you'd never drawn a line between money for staying afloat and money for emergencies. It had all just been one blurry pile that ran out around the 3rd week of the month. This account isn't that pile. This is money that sits somewhere separate, quietly earning a little interest while it waits, untouched by the vacation you're not planning or the dinner out you're not buying. It's not for the shoes on sale. It's not for the trip Renee keeps posting about. It's for exactly this. Breaks, a job that disappears without warning, a week in urgent care. The stuff that isn't a maybe. You pull out of the shop lot and merge into traffic, and for the first time in longer than you can remember, An unexpected bill didn't cost you anything you'll still be feeling next month. It cost you $410 and about 4 minutes of mild inconvenience. The shield held, which means the next question isn't whether you can survive the unexpected anymore. It's what you're going to do about the debt you built before you had one. Destroying high-interest debt. Your coworker Ashley Kowalczyk gets engaged on a Thursday, and by Friday, the whole office knows because she's wearing the ring like a headline and telling anyone who'll stand still about the trip her fiancé is planning. Somewhere with water, somewhere with a private plane involved. A friend of his has a Gulfstream G280 and offered to fly them out. You say congratulations and mean it. You also feel something else, something smaller and less flattering, sitting underneath the congratulations, and you don't examine it too closely. That night, you're scrolling in bed, not looking for anything, and Ashley's posted a photo, her hand, the ring, and next to it on the counter, a Chanel classic flap in black caviar leather, gold hardware, the kind of bag you've priced out before in a weak moment and closed the tab immediately after. Right now, that bag runs a little over $10,800. You know this because you looked it up once, a year ago, for no reason you'd admit to anyone. You have a card with $2,300 of room left on it. You do the math before you decide to. Minimum payment a few months, nobody would even know until the statement came due. It wouldn't be the Chanel. You're not delusional. But there's a version, a nice dinner, something for yourself, some small proof that you're not just the person who transfers $410 to a mechanic and calls it a win. And for about 4 minutes, lying there in the dark, it feels like a reasonable idea. Here's the part that stops you. You open the Cards app instead of the shopping tab, and there it is, sitting where it always sits, 21.52% APR, the number you've scrolled past 100 times without letting it land. You do the math this time, not the fun kind, the other kind. Whatever you charge tonight doesn't cost what the receipt says. It costs that, plus roughly a fifth of it again every year it doesn't get paid off. The version of you feeling better for one dinner is also the version of you still paying for it in March. You already know what you're carrying. Not $10,800, nothing close, but enough spread across 2 cards that the interest alone eats a real bite out of what you could be putting anywhere else. You pull up both balances side by side for the first time in longer than you'd like to admit. One card's smaller, maybe $800, low interest. The other's bigger, $2,900, and it's the one bleeding you at 24%. You could knock out the small one first, feel that little rush of a balance hitting zero. It'd feel like something. But the math doesn't lie, and the math says the $2,900 one is the one actually costing you money every single day you let it sit. So, you send the extra toward that one instead. The boring, correct, unglamorous choice. And you leave the small one exactly where it is for now. No bag, no dinner charged to a card you'd regret in a month. Just $60 more than usual, sent quietly toward the balance that's actually hurting you, while Ashley's ring photo sits 3 scrolls up your feed, still there, still not yours to want. You put the phone down. The room is the same as it was 5 minutes ago. You just didn't make it worse, which is its own kind of relief. The kind that doesn't announce itself, the kind that just means tomorrow costs a little less than it would have. Investing in your future. Your HR department sends the same email every October, and every October you've deleted it without reading past the subject line. Open enrollment. This year, for reasons you can't fully explain, you actually open it. Buried in the 3rd paragraph is the line that stops you. Your company matches 100% of what you put into your 401k up to 4% of your pay. You read it twice. It sounds like a typo. You've been putting in exactly 0% since you started 2 years ago because the form seemed complicated and you had other things pulling at your paycheck. You do the math on a sticky note right there at your desk. 4% of what you make is a real number. The match is that same number, handed to you, doubled, before it's even touched an investment. You've never once been offered free money by an adult with a job title. You bump your contribution up to 4% before you can talk yourself out of it. That night, you call your dad, David Petrosky, mostly to complain about something else entirely, and the conversation drifts the way it does into money. He's the one who says Roth IRA like it's obvious, like everyone already has one. You don't. He explains it the way a dad explains things. Half right, half a story about 1987. But the part that sticks is this: whatever grows in there, you never pay tax on again. Not now. Not when you pull it out in 40 years. This year, you can put up to $7,500 into one. You don't have $7,500. You have $60 a week you can actually spare. And for the first time, that feels like enough to start with instead of too small to matter. You open the account on your phone that same night, sitting on the edge of your bed, still in your work clothes. $60 goes in. It disappears into a target date fund you picked, mostly because the name made sense. It doesn't feel like anything. No confirmation email arrives with fireworks. Just a number, sitting in an account you didn't have yesterday. You do let yourself do the math once, just once, on what $300 a month could actually become if you kept doing this from right now until you're 65. Something close to 7 figures, assuming the market does roughly what it's always done. You also let yourself imagine, for exactly as long as it takes to close the tab, a 2-bedroom condo on Golden Gate Point in Sarasota, water on 3 sides, listed right now at $1.4 million. You don't screenshot it. You don't need to yet. You just needed to know a version of the math where that's not a fantasy. It's a Tuesday, 40 years from now, that you're quietly building towards $60 at a time. What actually stays with you isn't the condo. It's the order you did things in. The match first, because turning it down was turning down money that was already yours. The Roth second, because 40 years of no taxes is worth more than it sounds like on a Tuesday night. Whatever's left, someday, into something boring that tracks the whole market instead of betting on one piece of it. You close your laptop and turn off the light, $60 lighter and further ahead than you've ever been at the same time. Which means the only thing left to figure out is how to keep doing this without having to decide to, every single time. Automating your financial freedom. The machine that doesn't sleep. It's a Friday, 6 weeks after the Roth account with $60 in it stopped feeling like a big deal, and you're at your cousin Tyler Bracken's apartment for his birthday, the kind of night with too much pizza and everyone half watching a game on mute. Around 11, Tyler starts talking about his new watch, a Tudor Black Bay 58, the Black Dial 1, and how he financed it over 12 months through the jeweler, because it's basically free if you don't think about it. You nod along. You don't say what you're thinking, which is that you know exactly what "don't think about it" costs, because you almost did the same math yourself 4 months ago over a bag that isn't sitting on anyone's wrist tonight. You leave a little after midnight, tired in the specific way Fridays make you tired. And when you get home, you don't check your accounts. You don't need to. That's the part that's different now. Payday was 2 days ago, and you didn't do anything on payday at all. No transfers, no math, no 15 seconds where your brain tried to spend it before you decided anything. It just happened without you. The bills account already had what it needed. The savings account already got its cut. The Roth already took its $60. You found out you'd done all of it correctly by checking, out of habit, 3 days after it no longer mattered. That's the thing nobody tells you about the first few months of doing this, right? It stops feeling like discipline and starts feeling like nothing at all. You used to make a decision every single time money moved. Now, the decision only happens once. Back when you set the routing up on a Tuesday night, tired, in your work clothes, and it just runs. It doesn't care if you're at Tyler's apartment eating pizza at midnight. It doesn't care if you're exhausted or distracted or half tempted by a watch someone else is wearing. It moves the same amount, the same day, every time, whether you're paying attention or not. You think about the $1,406.52 you were left with after that first Tuesday, months ago, the number you couldn't fully account for. You think about the checking account you used to leave everything sitting in, unsorted, undecided, quietly losing value every month. It sat there doing nothing while prices kept climbing around it. That account doesn't exist anymore, not the way it used to. Now, money touches your checking account for about a day before it's already somewhere else, already working, already accounted for before you've had the chance to talk yourself into anything. You get into bed a little after 1, phone on the nightstand, and you don't reach for it. There's nothing to check, nothing to move, nothing to decide. The version of you, the one whose thumb hovered over the banking app before he was even fully awake, wouldn't recognize this feeling. Not because the paycheck got bigger, it didn't. Because the 15 seconds that used to decide everything don't get a vote anymore. Tyler's watch is still on his wrist somewhere across town, ticking away on a payment plan he'll be thinking about for the next 11 months. You're just here in the dark, owing nobody anything for tonight, which leaves one thing you haven't asked yourself yet, not what you do with the money, what you do with the version of you that built all of this, the 15 seconds that don't get a vote anymore. You still get paid every 2 weeks. The number still lands the same way it always did. Quiet. What's different is you. You don't reach for your phone the second it hits. You don't do the math anymore because the math already happened days ago without you. Tuesday will still come. The account will still dip low before the next check lands, the way it always does, and some part of you will still feel it, that small flicker of doubt right before payday. That doesn't go away. It just stops being in charge. Somewhere tonight, your money is already moving, already becoming something, while you're doing something else entirely. Living mostly instead of managing. The only question left is what you'll notice next time your phone buzzes at 6:47.